All right, so over here is Alabama, and over there is Georgia. So I'm finally gonna leave the state. So my plan, when I left Dothan this morning, my plan was to go to Gordon, a small town called Gordon, which is the last town in Alabama. And the town is really small. There's not even like any store there. It's really small. Nothing's really there. Anyway, so I was walking by and I got into town, and this cop stopped me in the world's most ghetto cop car. So it was probably, for one, it was like an early 2000s make, right? So it was really old, and it didn't even say police on the side. It was just painted black. It was really dented and battered up, and he had his lights on top, except it was so ghetto that only like one half of them worked. The other half was broke. So that's just kind of just to give you a visual of this situation. That's what it looked like, right? Anyway, this cop stops and he's like, you got ID on you? I'm like, yeah. So I gave him my ID. And I'm like, did someone call the cops or something? He's like, nah, I see a stranger walking in my town. I'm gonna stop him. I don't know what you're here for. And that kind of thing, like you get that a lot in the South. Cops and people in general are generally more suspicious of people who aren't from around there. I've noticed, at least just personally, that's generally how they go about thinking about things. Anyway, so whatever, I give him my ID and he runs it, and when he finishes up, he's like, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, you best bet just keep on walking right past that state line into Georgia. People around here, they gonna see you, they ain't gonna like that too much. They ain't gonna like anyone from that's not from around here, and So this dude was like super straight. Like I felt old school. I was like, dude, am I in like the 1970s or something? All right, so I took the day off yesterday in Bainbridge. I met some hippie dude, and I just kind of chilled out all day with him. But now I'm headed towards what's it called, Havana, Florida, and so I probably won't get there today, but I should get into Florida today, so that'll be cool. So I'm in my last state. I'm in Florida. I just got permission to camp here at this little church place. They hooked me up with some KFC. So that was nice of them. But yeah, I'll be on Havana tomorrow, then to Tallahassee. Alright, so last night they actually let me sleep inside this little building that's next to the church, so I didn't have to sleep out in the cold. They told me I could take however many of these I want. These are MREs. Apparently, when the hurricane came through, the National Guard like passed out a whole bunch. So like everyone has a lot. Like I was given some in Alabama, so they're like everywhere. But it's good. Some good you know, free calories. They also got me all these groceries that I told them not to give me because I don't have that kind of room in my pack. But people just too friendly down here, I guess. All right, so I'm here in Tallahassee. Um, so when I left Dothan and I made it to that town, right? I never told like the full story of the cop that stopped me, right? Anyway, when that redneck cop stopped me, he was actually there was some dude in some big truck who was just kind of looky-looing next to us. Anyway, well when the cop left, me and that guy got in a conversation. He was from that little town of Gordon, and he let me after that cop basically told me to, get out of town, get out of the state, right? Well, the dude in the truck, he was like, we got in a little conversation. He was cool and friendly, and he actually told me that about that spot that was underneath the bridge of the Chattahoochee River that I could probably camp. And he told me he'll come check on me later on after he was done with something, and whatever. So I set up my tent, whatever. Anyway, then he came, and then he told me, he's like, hey dude, you could crash at my house, that's no problem or whatnot. So I just packed up my tent and went to his house, so I didn't have to sleep out in the cold weather. Anyway, then the next day I made it to Donaldsonville, Georgia, where it was so like windy, and it was like it was gonna storm like hard later on. Like the winds were super strong, so there's no way I could camp out even if I wanted to. So I had to get a motel there. Good thing there still was a motel too, because two of the town's motels were destroyed from the Hurricane Michael. So good thing that last one wasn't. So yeah, I slept there. Anyway, then the next day I made it to Bainbridge, where I went to an RV park, and they told me I could just camp out there, no problem. I didn't even have to pay or anything. So I set up my tent. But then later on, I met some dude who was sleeping in a camper, and he just told me I could hang out there. And that's the dude I hung out with for 2 days. I took the next day off because I had walked like a long distance the day before, and I was still kind of sore. So I just took him up on it and stayed with him in the RV. Anyway, then the next day I left Bainbridge and crossed the state line into Florida, and I went to some church where I asked them if I'd be able to camp out there, and they said yeah, that's no problem. So I set up my tent to camp there, and then later on they told me I could sleep in the building that's next to the church, to stay warm and whatnot, so I didn't have to sleep out in the cold. And then next day was yesterday, and I made it here to this motel in Tallahassee. Now I say all that to say, this whole stretch from Dothan to Tallahassee, I did not have to sleep outside one time because of good fortune, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I thought that was cool that didn't even have to sleep outside. Who would have thought that? That'd be cool if that trend continues, but probably not. Can't rely on luck too much. Though I could use it because I'm gonna be going in some pretty swampy areas, leaving Tallahassee here, so I could use a little bit of that luck in the future. But I don't know how I'm gonna figure out, the whole camping situation in the swamps. But we'll figure something out. Just stay tuned and find out. I don't know where I'm heading from here exactly. I'm gonna like I looked at some, in Florida generally it's more populous than, the states I've been in, and I kind of want to avoid those big, metropolitan areas, like especially Orlando. Like I want to stay away from that. Because walking through city and like developed areas is kind of depressing. I prefer if I'm gonna be walking all day, I'd rather be out in the country, and you're more likely to meet like friendly people out in the country anyway. People in the city don't really talk to each other too much. So yeah, that's what I plan on doing. So yeah, that's the plan. Peace out.